Hi guys, I am sitting here playing with selection tools in Adobe Photoshop on my iPad, and this tutorial will teach you how to make a selection, create a new layer from that selection, how to manipulate it, and have a whole new image when you're done. So let's get started. All right, so we are going to begin by opening up an image that we are going to select pieces from and create a whole new image from it. So we're going to focus on our selection tools here. So in your tool option bar, the third tool down is going to be your lasso. The lasso is the default selection tool in Photoshop. You'll notice there are other hidden selection tools that we can work with. We're going to focus mostly on the lasso, quick selection, and the magic wand tool. When you select a tool, the options for that tool will appear in the tool options bar, which by default will be docked down at the bottom. I like to bring mine right up here before I get started because I like them right next to the tool I'm working with. Some other areas we're going to be using today that you need to be aware of are how we undo. If we get into trouble, we just tap that back button and that will undo. Let's learn, what does it mean to select? So I'm going to tap my lasso tool. First thing you need to know is when you select, I would suggest zooming in. That's one of the benefits of this iPad. I can so easily pinch and zoom. It's awesome. So now I'm going to select this apple by just tapping, or you could say painting or taking your finger and dragging it across. I'm just selecting part of the apple. Not the perfect selection I wanted, but whatever, it works. When you select, you get what's called marching ants. Marching ants mean that whatever changes that you make, my stuff became deselected here, will only occur inside those marching ants. If I tap the paintbrush tool, right now I have black paint on my brush, and you can change the size of the brush you're painting with by using the slider, how dark it is. Okay, and I'm just going to paint. Notice that it will only paint what is inside the marching ants. If I were to choose down at the bottom, you'll notice that there's another bar with more options here. There's so many options. But what these are is these are options for the active selection that you have. So this is only here because right now I have an active selection, active marching ants. I could choose the invert, which is inverse or opposite. Now watch what this does. When I have the inverse selected, I'm going to change my color to a different color. Doop, now I have white, and I'm going to paint. It will only go outside of the selection. So that's what that invert tool does. So I'm going to re-bring it back. If I want to deselect, I would choose deselect, and it'll make all those marching ants go away. But now that I took away the marching ants, watch, if I want to paint, I'll go back to a darker color. It's just going to paint everywhere. See, it's sort of a big hot mess. So again, selection tools help me isolate so that I'm only manipulating one area. Deselect is down at the bottom, deselect, and it goes away. All right, so back to this. Let's get our selection tool. I'm going to click and drag around my apple, so join me. And let's get familiar with some of the options on our selection toolbar here. The first one is just making the general selection. Notice the option underneath here. This is how you add to a selection. So when I have that selected, let's say, oh wait, I didn't get all of what I want. I can zoom in and I can quickly start to firm up, and make a better selection by adding to those areas that I didn't select. Now let's say that I make a mistake and oh no, I got areas I don't want. Look at the option here. I can subtract. So to subtract, what you do is you go inside those marching ants and you circle, and then poof, that's gone. Okay, now, once I have my object selected, we're going to teach you guys how to make good habits right away. So let's say here, what can I do with my object that's selected? Well, I can move it. If I tap my move tool, I can tap what I have selected and poof, move my object. But one of the things I want you to notice is when I moved it, I just created a blank space on my picture. So what if I didn't want that blank space, right? So let's just make a good habit right away. I'm going to undo this, and instead of just moving it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layer for it. So I'm going to tap the three dots, and I'm going to choose Copy Selection. Then I'm going to choose 3 dots, and I'm going to hit Paste. What you're going to notice is in the Layers panel windows here, I have a new layer, and it is the apple. And so what this allows me to do is total control, because this is its own layer now. So whatever happens on this layer is only happening here. Layers are images that are on top of each other. But when I'm on this layer here, whatever is highlighted blue, that's the active layer. So whatever I'm doing is only occurring on that layer. It's not affecting anything else. So if I want to go back here or another piece of fruit or vegetable, I have to make sure I'm on the bottom layer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start grabbing some of these other pieces, but now I'm going to use a different selection tool. Let's go ahead and use the quick selection tool. This one's pretty cool because what it does is it's looking for and identifying edges. So I'm going to grab the banana. If I tap and drag, look how easy that was. All I did was touch it and then the whole thing got selected. So much easier, right? So let's go ahead and make this its own layer. So again, this is very repetitive, I know. So go to 3 dots, choose Copy Selection, get your Move tool, and 3 dots, Paste. Now I have another layer, and that's my banana. So let me grab my banana. Make sure your banana is the active layer. Get your Move tool. Boop. Oh no, why is it underneath my apple? I can't see it. There's that whole layers thing. Go to the layers palette. I want to see the banana on top of the apple. So what I'm going to do is, this is called stacking order. You're going to click and drag and boom, there, your banana's on top of your apple. So now I have a nice little smirk. It's kind of a big smile. Nobody smiles that big. Well, maybe I do. So why don't I change the size of it? How do I do that? I'm going to choose the button Transform. It's a scaling option. And if I tap at any one of these corners, it will keep the proportion of what I have, and I can make it smaller. I can also rotate it. So maybe I want to make it look like I'm doing a little smirk, side smirk. I want to flip it because I want it to be from the other side. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to choose Flip. And there we go. I got a little side smirk going. It's a little too big still. I'm going to make it a little smaller. When I like what I have, I press Done. I'm going to still stay with the quick selection tool. One of the things I want to look at here is the size of the brush. So if you tap 2 times, you'll get a slider, and this will help you choose the size of the brush you're working with. Now, I'm going to recommend, again, zooming in when you're selecting, and then make the brush not too big, not too small, but just right. And go ahead and select. See how quick that was? Super easy. Now the green part here, I want to add to my selection. So I make sure that Add to the Selection's selected. Go to my 3 dots, Copy, Selection, 3 dots, Paste. Again, you guys are making good habits here by learning how to create layers. It just makes life easier. Uh-oh, better bring those carrots on top. Click, drag, drop. And that's just obnoxiously big, so let's change the size of it. So freeform, grab my bounding box here, decide how I want my angle to be. It's going to be some bushy eyebrows. Make a second eyebrow. So let me just show you something that's really easy. We could just duplicate this one layer, make a second one. So if I tap it, there's a flyout menu that is specific to that layer here. If I choose the plus sign, I can duplicate it. Now I can take my Move tool and make sure it's selected, and poof, there's my other eyebrow. I don't like the direction of that because I want my bushy part of my eyebrow in the middle. Tap the 3 dots, I can choose Merge Visible. and boom, I have one layer. So what I can do now is crop out what I don't want, which is where I was selecting from. Remember, crop means cut. And I can have just a pretty cute little guy. And voila, there's my friend. So send him out, save him, export him to your camera roll, quick export.